diverse.
I'm Asian.
Yeah. And our country was Pakistan. So just a little bit of reference for where Pakistan is. It is in the south, South Asia, and it's bordered by Iran, Afghanistan, India, and as you can see, it's actually bordered by a lot of different countries, which is something that, as an American, it's very different to look at, seeing as we only have countries basically on the top and bottom, and then coastals on the sides. But a little bit of brief history before we go into more of the cultural thing about Pakistan, just so you have a little bit of a basic knowledge to go off of. Pakistan is a sovereign country in South Asia, and it became a sovereign nation in 1947 when it gained its independence from the British, just like many other countries in that area. Pakistan is a democratic parliament republic, so basically without the parliament part, it sounds pretty similar to what we have here in America, but we'll get into more of the politics later. And they have a state religion of Islam. So we go back up here and look at some in Asia I can talk to you. Actually, I'll start with some of the words that we started first. As we said, they have a state religion of Islam. When they were actually founded, when Pakistan was founded, it was founded basically with a Muslim majority. It's a sovereign country. It's one of the most populous countries for its area. I think it was the 6th most populous for its area. As I said, there's the parliamentary. Something that was very interesting about Pakistan was it's incredibly ethnically diverse and incredibly linguistically diverse. If we go back down to here, to this little map that you guys can see, each of these colors that's in Pakistan, and let me outline it a little better for you so you can see it. Pakistan is this country right here. And as you can see, it has 4 different major cultures in it, which is another something that, as we're probably going to learn later in this class, they're probably going to have a lot of different strategies to how they can go about politically changing things when they have a lot of different cultures and a lot of different languages and identities that they're going to have to take into account. All right. They are a nuclear state. They do have nuclear power and nuclear warheads. They're a militaristic society, the 6th largest military in the world. Go down these little... they have a big problem with overpopulation. That's not one of the main concerns we're going to talk about. Political corruption is... they have a very high amount of income equality. They're a member of the United Nations. They have a president. They're a democracy. And you guys can pretty much read the rest of those. And Asia can finish with some of her words too.
All right, so my deal was more the sports and different other things that are important in their country. Cricket was one of the main sports over there, and they won the cup. They won the World Cup champion. They're a World Cup championship team. They have other games such as football. What else do they do? Basically, a lot of stuff. I don't know the other sports, but football and cricket were the most popular. They're really into poetry, and they like to write on like cars, walls. They like to write their poetry on the houses, and I don't know, it's really cool over there. The music is very important to them. Their dance culture is very important. Cuisine and their architecture is very important as well. We have a couple pictures at the bottom. Oh, right here. Of their agriculture or architecture as well. There are 2 famous cricket players that were pictured on the World Cup team as well. Okay, bear with me. Never mind, you just read the names. They're on this team right here. What else? So let's go into the rituals.
Okay. All right, so as she stated earlier, one of the most interesting rituals that I found was their practice of writing poetry on the back of their cars.
Yeah.
Which I honestly think to be a far upgrade to the obnoxious bumper stickers that are so prevalent in our country. But apparently, like while on the streets, it's very, very common to see people's favorite poetry verses and lines on the back of their cars. Another more social ritual I found is the using of local canals and waterways as communal pools. There are actually very, very, very few pools that are open to the public in Pakistan. There are a lot of pools, but as I stated, there's a lot of income inequality. And so those pools are privately owned by people that are in the highest echelon of class. So oftentimes during festivals and religious holidays, people will use the local canals and waterways as basically swimming pools and fun areas to go to. And then the next two she can talk about.
What we always also thought was interesting about the poetry thing was they have a 50% illiteracy rate there. So for poetry to be a common thing and written everywhere, it's kind of, we thought that was a little odd as well. Okay, so 2 rituals that I came up with were that girls should fulfill the presence of a masculine touch while going to the market or traveling, and even a little boy can feel this traditional way of accompanying women, which is, I don't know if it's really a surprise because women are like at the bottom of the totem pole in a lot of the Middle Eastern countries. So, I mean, they have to be accompanied by men when they're walking. They can't walk alone. The reason for that is protection, and well, that's what they say, it's for protection. Another ritual was that they're very superstitious, and many believe that everyone around them is jealous, so friends or foes are jealous as well. So they put black cloths and wigs on the back of their cars to protect them from jealous beings or emotions of the enemies.
As we touched on a little bit already, 2 of the main concerns we thought, political corruption is one of the biggest ones, but thankfully it's, as of 2013, it's on a decline. They have a problem, which a lot of countries do in the area, of basically an establishment that basically gives government jobs based on patronage. If you guys can like harken back to the machine politic era of America, it's basically, if you are a part of our system, we will take care of you. And so there hasn't really been an option for much change in Pakistan. And they actually had one of the, they scored 127 out of 175 on the Corruption Perception Index. And the higher your number is, the worse off it is. This has been on a decline, though, since 2009. And they actually, most recently in 2013, the people of Pakistan had a very big victory in voting out the Pakistan People Party, or how it's the PPP there. And so they were voted out in 2013, and so they're starting to actually have some major change in Pakistan as far as corruption. But you can talk more about the illiteracy rate. I guess we already talked about that.
I was just about to say. So for the pictures, this is Christmas in Pakistan, and they hold a festival as well. And I thought it was interesting, they're on horses with this, but that's how they celebrate it. It's also called the Hindu. The next picture is just 2 guys playing cricket, and it's played by all age groups. And they start when they're really young, and then they build up when they're older, and they win championships over there. So that's important. This is a championship team from the 90s, and they're 2 of the best cricket players of all time from over there. They were part of that World Cup team as well.
And then these 2 pictures, as we've already talked about, architecture, especially post-colonial architecture, was very important. This is the capital, Islamabad, in Pakistan. And Pakistan is what's kind of known as a semi-industrialized country. So while they still have a very big focus on agriculture, they have some very large downtown areas and districts, and commercial districts. And then over here we have the Prime Minister speaking with Barack Obama, and basically just showing their foreign relations. They do have a lot of problems with foreign relations right now, especially with the countries that are their immediate neighbors. Mm-hmm. Something that's interesting is their Prime Minister is actually the head of their executive branch, whereas in America, the head of our executive branch is the head and chief president of the United States. Their president is basically just a ceremonial head of state. So it's interesting. They have the same 3 branches that we do, executive, judicial, legislative, but their prime minister is the head of their executive branch, unlike the president of the United States. So I think that is all that we have to present to you. Do you guys have any questions? Yes.
In your research, did you come across any types of food, or what type of food?
Yeah, because it's a prominently Muslim country, they don't eat pork, and so primarily their main food is lamb, fish, rice. During Ramadan, which is basically the holy month, it's one of the 4 holy months, they participate in one of the pillars of Islam, which is fasting. So they will, fasting is a very common thing to be done in Pakistan, as in many other predominantly Muslim cultures. Okay.
Have either of you guys played cricket?
Never. Well, he's.
No, I know
He's
about
watched a
cricket.
couple.
I think this is actually field hockey though, right there.
Okay.
But I can kind of explain how it works. If that's your question is.
I've never played, never saw it.
That's
Okay.
my beyond
That's-
my question.
Do it last like 3 days or a month or something like that?
It can. The longest cricket, the
Yeah,
longest
they-
cricket match I think is like
That's
maybe
too long.
a couple weeks. But the way it works is there's a guy, I think he's called a bowler, and he throws the ball down, and the point is the guy's supposed to hit it, and the field goes all the way around, so he can hit it behind him, in front of him, to the sides, and he has to see how many times that he can run to a designated point and back, and that's how you score points, is how many times you can run back until the ball is taken and thrown back to the bowler. And the other team, the pitcher, can gain points. I think this could be totally wrong. Don't hold me to this if people are watching this. They can get points too, or get the batter out by breaking. I think they're called wickets, the wooden things that are behind the batter.
Have you played cricket? Oh.
It'd be nice to try.
I had one other question. Did you find anything in your research or through looking at the pictures what type of dress people wore?
They're there. They have a very they have a cultural dress,
Okay.
but I think that's mainly for ceremonies, and it's more. It's not so much Pakistani culture as it is Muslim
Yeah.
culture.
Great. Thank you.